Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and everyone out there, how you doing? Welcome into the show. So today on the program, we have computer and technology news. Let's see. So computer news. All right. So everyone, welcome into the program. Today we are doing, as I said, computer technology. Sorry, my mind is everywhere but here. So everyone, how you doing? Welcome into the show. Let's go ahead and talk about none other than computeramerica.com. That is the one and only place that you need to know about when it comes to the program. That will have everything, including past shows, future shows, all shows, and anything like, articles, reviews, the live video feed, podcast, everything and anything can be found at Computer America. Check that out. Okay, so with that being said, everyone, welcome into the show. Let's go ahead and talk. Let's go ahead and start the noise Let's go ahead and play the music for computer and technology news, and we'll go ahead and get started. So everyone, hopefully you're having a great day, and we go ahead and do it. So everyone, computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. Let's go ahead and talk about Amazon, everyone's favorite punching bag, because, well, they're big enough to punch. And I heard about this from actually my family. I did not actually see it myself, although I think John Oliver is a very, very funny comedian and very poignant in his social commentary. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and include this article. So this is Amazon's Dave Clark, who is an executive for the company. Well, he kind of snapped back and rebuffed some of John Oliver's assertion, saying that John Oliver ran a segment on Sunday's Last Week Tonight, criticizing the working conditions on Amazon's warehouses and other logistics centers. By the way, if you haven't heard about that, that's it's a little bit of an older story, but at the same time, it's it's still very much worth the read. I'm sure it's still very topical when it comes to Amazon and their fulfillment centers, their warehouses, and what have you. Workers have been forced to do everything from skipping breaks to working in extreme heat and more. It's really just no end in sight. Although Amazon has been working on improving conditions, at the same time, they still create a culture that is very toxic to any kind of healthy work-life balance. Now, the article, this one from Business Insider, starts by saying an Amazon executive has railed against a segment on John Oliver's Last Week Tonight, saying that during his HBO show on Sunday, Oliver took aim at what he called the brutal working conditions inside Amazon warehouses, or fulfillment centers as the company calls them, saying that the more you look at Amazon, the more you realize the convenience comes at a real cost. And that was John Oliver's quote. Because think about it, we used to have to drive to store to buy things, and now things are being brought directly to us and they're somehow cheaper. That didn't just happen with a clever algorithm, it happened by creating a system that squeezes the people lowest on the ladder hard, and all the while the man behind Amazon is now worth $118 billion, more than anyone else in the world. And when he says that, I, of course, want to, the point stands on its own. Of course, most of that is not liquid assets. They are shares within Amazon, and Amazon itself is highly valued. Therefore, you get a gentleman worth $118 billion. So, of course, Oliver honed in on reports of Amazon's union-busting tactics, the physical drain on its workers, the level of control management exerts over employees, including closely monitoring bathroom breaks. saying that, quote, when people shorten their time in the bathroom, they don't shorten the bathroom part, they shorten the hand washing part. So the next time you order something online, it's safe to assume that that's been packed by, well, yeah, urine-soaked hands. Anywho, the following day, Dave Clark, Amazon's senior vice president of operations, voiced his objections to Oliver's monologue, saying Oliver was wrong on Amazon. They said that as a fan of the show, I enjoy watching John make an entertaining case for failing of companies, governments, and most recently Mount Everest, but he is wrong on Amazon. Industry-leading $15 minimum wage and comprehensive benefits are just one of the many programs we offer. And that, again, was a quote from Dave Clark. So the $15 minimum wage, it was introduced in the company last year. It's well known. The federal minimum wage is something like $7.50 or $8. It's really not a lot of money, and then $15 was seen as a huge move, and it definitely was. It definitely was a step in the right direction, because you shouldn't be working employees that hard and still simply paying them, federal minimum wage. But $15 for some of the conditions. And by the way, they also said that Amazon operated a safe, quality work environment, and said Oliver and his producers had declined an invitation to take a tour of a warehouse. So there you go. That's about the end of the story, but actually I can guarantee that's not the end of the story. It will continue on. Like we said, this story has been out for a number of months. Every couple of months or years, you hear about stories about employees being hurt on the job at Amazon. I cannot defend or, I cannot really defend or accuse Amazon of anything. I think that when you employ as many employees as Amazon does, things are going to happen just by sheer volume, by sheer numbers. Someone's going to do something and it's going to look bad, such as the instance of bear mace exploding or being punctured, I should say, in a fulfillment center and people having to go to the hospital. It's not a good thing. I'm not denying that it's a good, or I'm not asserting that it's a good thing, but I'm also saying that Amazon does in fact employ tons of people and ships millions of products. Just the law of averages, we're going to hear about the few as opposed to, we don't really know if it's outside the range of, what just is a freak accident. So with that being said, everyone, let's go ahead and move on to this next one. And there's a bit of irony. I do find this entertaining. So this one from metro.co.uk, and it has to do with none other than Cloudflare. If you haven't heard of Cloudflare, we actually just switched off of Cloudflare. It's a service used for DDoS protection. It's for SSL certification. It's the difference between HTTP and HTTPS. And, there's also some security aspects to it. The point is, Cloudflare is massive. When it comes to online infrastructure, it's one of those it's really one of those backbones. Now, Cloudflare went down today. Yes, today, Tuesday. Went down today, and a vast number of websites around the world went down with it. And luckily, I'm hoping, let's see, computeramerica.com. Let's check us out because we use Cloudflare, and nope, we're good. All right, so Cloudflare is still, Computer America is still good, but Cloudflare went down. Now, the company provides cloud computing services to millions of customers, meaning that a lot of sites and services were not working this afternoon. One of these is, of course, Down Detector. And if you haven't heard of Down Detector, it's much like a website, kind of like isitdownforme.com or Is It Down? That website was not working, which is a very bad indication. And in a lot of cases, are people's really first instinct to check one of those websites to see if it's just them, that for some reason your website isn't loading, or is it down for everyone? So there you go. The chat service Discord also stopped working, as well as a number of other prominent pages. One cryptocurrency site even suggested the outage caused a minor panic by falsely showing people the price of Bitcoin had plummeted. Unable to check Down Detector for updates, people took to Twitter and questions for answers, saying, quote, "Sure is great that when Cloudflare goes down, it takes half the internet with it," one person wrote. Absolutely. The outage caused problems with cryptocurrency website CoinDesk, and saying that due to a Cloudflare outage, we're getting bad data from our provider, which is showing incorrect crypto prices, saying that Bitcoin is not at $26. The outage has since been resolved since the publication of this article, but just so everyone knows, earlier today, yes, Cloudflare had a problem. And it's not common, but it's one of those things that, when Cloudflare goes down, when WordPress goes down, when Amazon Web Services goes down, it really, if you deleted like that one, maybe like Azure Cloud and a couple other services, you would probably take down about 90% of the internet. Only a few companies really provide all the hosting and services for a vast majority. So there you go. Let's go ahead and continue on looking at the stories that we have. How about we talk about... Let's go ahead and talk about this one. So I read about this yesterday, and it's worth repeating. Ebooks. If you haven't heard about them, they're pretty cool when you can use them. But we have this article here that shows that, hey, even if you purchase them, you may not actually be purchasing them. And it's something to really read the fine print about. This has to do with, this is coming to us from Gizmodo, Mr. Matt Novak, saying that ebooks purchased from Microsoft will be deleted this month because you don't really own anything anymore. So people who bought ebooks through the Microsoft Store are in for a rude shock. In the coming days, saying that you can get a refund, but all your books are going to get deleted this month, which I think is about the best way they could have handled it. Now, Microsoft announced April that it would stop selling ebooks, and that any books the company already sold would stop working in early July because the digital rights management server were being shut off. That's right. These books that you bought are going to disappear. Even the free book that you downloaded through Microsoft will be deleted. And the DRM, Digital Rights Management, that's the thing that makes sure that you don't illegally download these books. Microsoft started selling ebooks back in 2017, but tech limitations made them unpopular with users. So as a colleague of the author said back in April, that anyone who bought Microsoft's ebooks had to use Microsoft Edge browser, and the company never made a dedicated ebook reader application. The books that came with restricted DRM, the digital locks on media, and unfortunately, the existence of the same locks are the precise reason that Microsoft will be deleting things that you actually purchased. Users will automatically get refunded to whatever account they have on file, but if your credit card has expired and you don't have a payment method, Microsoft will give you a credit that can be used online in the Microsoft Store. Goody. Now, the author kind of sums this up by saying that this entire debacle shows just how ridiculous our current media landscape can be when we're purchasing movies, games, and books through companies that are using DRM. Few people expect that the Apple Store to go away anytime soon, but what happens in 20 years from now when a competitor comes along and Apple decides that it's too expensive to maintain its own servers? Back in the days of DVD, no one could take your movies away from you. Now, all it takes is a flip of a switch, and many of your platforms, hey, they could be deleted. As Cory Doctorow explains over at Boing Boing, he predicted the exact scenario when he gave a talk at Microsoft about 15 years ago. There you go. So for everyone who, and honestly, I don't think this is that big of a deal because I don't think many people actually purchased ebooks from Microsoft. Like they said, it had to go through the Edge browser, and hey, how many people are even using that, let alone using it for its very slim functionality with ebooks? It's I think that's why Microsoft felt comfortable doing this. They are pulling the plug on a project that is just, quite frankly, not that robust. So, I mean, good on them for recognizing it, but kind of a shame that the DRM, the digital rights management, was the was the cause. There you go. Now, let's go ahead and continue on. So this article came out today, getting a lot of traction. Might as well talk about it. And let's go ahead. So China, they come up on the show every once in a while. Like we've said before, if you want to see what's going to go wrong in technology, if you want to see the bad side of technology, watch China. Now, we have another story that we can all add to our repertoire. This by Mr. Joseph Cox, and saying that motherboard. Now, China is forcing tourists to install text stealing malware at its border. That's right. Saying that foreigners crossing into Chinese borders into the Xinjiang region, where authorities are conducting a massive campaign of surveillance and oppression against the local Muslim population. Well documented, they are sent into camps, re-education camps as they called them, and they are forced to essentially assimilate with the population. But many people would call that kidnapping and psychological abuse and torture. But hey, that's just China for you. Now, they said that they're also being forced to install a piece of malware on their phone that gives all of their text messages as well as other pieces of data to authorities in collaboration by Motherboard. They said The Guardian, The New York Times, and the German public broadcaster NDR has found. So a lot of really reputable sources, again, The Guardian, New York Times, Motherboard, German public broadcaster, and of course another one from a German publication I really can't pronounce. The Android malware, which is installed by a border guard when they physically seize the phone, also scans the tourist or traveler's devices for a specific set of files, according to multiple expert analysis. The files they were looking for include Islamic extremist content, but also innocuous Islamic material, academic books on Islam by leading researchers, and even music from a Japanese metal band. I wonder if it's baby metal. But yeah. Really, anything that the government decides you shouldn't have, even if it's not expressly illegal, they can broaden it and say, hey, we don't appreciate you having this. In no way is the downloading of tourist text messages and other mobile phone data comparable to the treatment of the Uyghur population in Xinjiang, who live under the constant gaze of facial recognition systems. But last week, they detailed the human rights abuses and surveillance against the Uyghur population, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that so poorly. But the malware news shows that the Chinese government's aggressive style of policing and surveillance in the Xinjiang region has extended to foreigners as well. That's right. It's not just about one oppressed people. Now it's about everyone. They're broadening their search, and yeah. It's definitely going to happen. One tourist who crossed the border had the malware installed on their device, provided a copy to the publications, and a member of the reporting team then crossed the border and had the same malware installed on their phone. Motherboard has uploaded a copy of the Android app to GitHub, and within the article, you can see a link to that if you'd like to go check that out. Now, at the border crossing from Kyrgyzstan into China, surrounded by desolate mountainous peaks, border authorities take travelers' phones to be searched and install the malware called BXAQ or Feng Kai. These crossing borders entered the clean, sterile environment to be searched, and in all, the process of getting through several stages of scrutiny and security took about half a day, one traveler said. So they're being very... for a population of 1.3 billion people, they're being very tight with their borders. Now, they said that they've commissioned several tech analysis of the app, penetration testing firm Cure53. They said that, and they have tons of these. They said that the app's code also includes names such as Cell Hunter and Mobile Hunter. That's right. Once installed on the Android phone, here's what it does. By side loading its installation and requesting certain permissions rather than downloading it from Google Play Store, they collect all of the phone's calendar entries, phone contacts, call logs, and text messages and uploads them to a server. According to an expert analysis, the malware also scans the phone to see which apps are installed and extract the subject's usernames from all of the installed apps. The app does not try to hide itself. Instead, it displays an icon on the app suggesting that it's designed to be removed from the phone after used by the authorities. This is yet another example of why surveillance regime is one of the most unlawful, pervasive, and draconian in the world. So that's pretty interesting that it's just a regular app, but it's only designed to completely take every identifiable marker off your phone, which again included things like contact information, your contacts, and usernames of all of your accounts. Scary stuff. Modern extraction systems take advantage of this to build a detailed but flawed picture into a person's life. Modern apps, platforms, and devices generate huge amounts of data which people likely aren't even aware of, or that they believe is deleted, but which can still be found on the device. This is highly alarming in a country where downloading the wrong app or even news article could land you in a detention camp. That's right, and they even provide a picture of what it looks like. So there you go. They said that they saw machines that appear to be for searching iPhones at the border. China researcher at Amnesty International, which is Patrick Poon, it's already alarming to see how even foreigners and tourists would be the subject to this kind of surveillance. So included in the app's code are hashes for over 73,000 different files of the malware scans for. So ordinarily, it's difficult to determine what specific files the hashes are related to, but the reporting team and researchers managed to uncover the inputs of about 1,300 of them, which means that they just have a long string of words and they have a long string of numbers and letters that are called hashes. And normally you would need, the hashes themselves are unlocked, or they provide the unlock to another form of encryption so that they can then search for files. But as the article said, they were able to use this, and they were able to uncover the inputs of about 1,300 of them. And this was done by searching for connected files in the file search engine VirusTotal. And they found other copies online and verified the material. And many of them include everything from Islamic State publication, anything by the Islamic State publication, the parts of the Quran, PDFs related to the Dalai Lama, and a music file from a Japanese metal band, Unholy Grave. There you go. All of these were searched automatically. So to skip down a little bit, let's go ahead and continue on with the article here. The Chinese government, both in law and practice, often conflates peaceful religious activities with terrorism. Chinese law defines terrorism and extremism in a very broad and vague manner. For example, terrorism charges can stem from mere possession of items that advocate terrorism, even though there's no clear definition of what these materials may be. Instead, they said that, one of the files scanned is a Syrian Jihad, a book written by Charles Lister, a leading terrorism scholar and senior fellow at the Director of Countering Terrorism and Extremism Program in the Middle East. So essentially, this is material written by someone who is trying to advocate against terrorism and extremism. Saying that I've never had any criticism for the book. In fact, in all honesty, he's received the opposite. Yet his book is on the list, probably just because of the title. It's very incendiary. Instead, he said, quote, "I suspect China authorities would find anything with the word, jihad in the title to be potentially suspicious. The book covers, albeit minimally, the role of the Turkestan Islamic Party in Syria and may also be a point of sensitivity for Beijing. Saying that I've also met with and engaged with Chinese officials to brief them on these issues, so I'm not aware of the problem Beijing would have with me. Very catch-all, very invasive, and overall not very effective. That seems to be, very much in line with what we've seen with the Chinese government. So we're going to go ahead and end that there. We have time for one more article before we go to break, but this will not be the last time we hear about China and what they're doing. Okay, next article. Let's get a little bit later. And by later, I mean 1.0. Let's get 1.0 later. Microsoft is teasing Windows 1.0, and everyone is confused, myself included. This is by Rachel England over at Engadget and Microsoft. And if you're watching the video portion, we'll go ahead and play the tweet here. It's about well, never mind. It's not working. Okay, so anyways, they said that Microsoft is up to something. Yesterday, the Windows team dropped a sizzler video on Twitter announcing an all-new Windows 1.0. It posted the same video over to its Instagram account, but only after it wiped every single other post from its page. The video winds backwards through the catalog of Windows logos before eventually landing on the Windows 1.0 design, which is now being used across all of its social media channels. And if you don't know what that looks like, it's not pretty. So what's going on? Windows has been particularly coy and vague in its responses from queries, telling them to stay tuned, wait for updates, saying that Windows 1.0 was released in November 1985, so there's some speculation this might have a tie-in with the forthcoming season of Stranger Things. Others suggest it's just Windows attempting to be wacky, and hey, we'll figure it out. Windows 1.0. If any of you have any idea what Microsoft is up to, please let us know, because we have no idea. So let's go ahead and continue on as we go here. We don't have time to get into this. NVIDIA and their new RTX supercards are preemptive strike on AMD. I'm okay with that. And as the kicker said, isn't competition great? This by Aaron Supouris, and he writes for Engadget, saying that with AMD's next gen of GPUs just days away, NVIDIA is making good on its drawn out tease with a trio of new graphics cards, saying that the RTX 2060, 2070, and 2080 Super. You may recall, NVIDIA has had the RTX 2060, 70, 80 and the RTX 2060, 70, and 80 Ti for quite a while now. Now we're getting a new one, which is called Super. It's more iterative, but hey, let's find out what Super even means. Saying that the first meaning of Super is similar to card already on sale, but better. That's a lot like the Ti moniker NVIDIA often uses, and it accurately describes the most changed of the new cards, the RTX 2060 Super. The new card comes in at about $399, which is $50 more than the regular edition, and actually has more in common with the 2070. In terms of new stuff, you get an extra 256 CUDA cores, which you are looking at about a 10% increase. 16 extra texture units for a total of about 136, so just under about 10%. Just over a 10% increase. There's also an improved base clock of about 1470 megahertz versus about 1365 megahertz, which it would be an increase of about 100. So you're looking at about a 7 or 8% increase. But on the negative side, there's a slightly reduced boost clock of about 1650 as opposed to 1680. The trade-offs, well worth it, I think, for the majority of people out there. Although overall, looks to be about a 10-15% upgrade over the regular non-Super. One big thing when we come back, we'll talk about the change in memory and what that means for the 2060 Super. Everyone, we'll be right back. More Computer America right after this. Stay tuned.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour, and to everyone out there, if you missed any part of the program today and you'd like to check it out, then feel free to go to wherever podcasts are heard, search Computer America, and we should pop right up. And it's today's show in its entirety. Of course, we do it live, and you can listen to that whenever you'd like. But, well, hey, actually take it back. You can only listen to it live 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, but you can listen to the podcast version whenever you'd like. Now, we continue on. We are talking about NVIDIA's new RTX 2080, 70, and 60 super cards. That's right. Super is a new moniker, which is separate, I think, or according to the article, maybe even replacing the TI marker. Okay, so again, we're going through the specs of the 2060 Super, and they mentioned that they have increased the memory. That's right, the memory from 6 gigs to 8 gigs. Now, combined with an improved 256-bit memory interface, that increases the bandwidth to by 33% to about 448 gigabytes per second. Very fast. That's a huge change for the better and should boost performance quite a bit, especially for people who use these things for rendering, processing, and the like. Although the raw teraflops or floating operation points improvement doesn't look that impressive at just about 7.2 versus a 6.5. All told, these tweaks should eke out an extra 15% performance over the base model, which again is not bad. Not bad. Not bad, and it's on par with the 2070 and ahead of last generation's 1080. Well, and so not bad for $400. On a side note, NVIDIA packages CUDA cores and texture units inside a streaming multiprocessor, and the current architecture, these SMs, also has tensor cores for AI and RT cores for ray tracing. Although the spec sheet notes an increase of 4 SMs, which are again streaming multiprocessors, they It doesn't mention a change in tensor or RT core counts. Instead, it says the maximum tensor flops raised from 51.6 to 57.4, which is in line with the improvements elsewhere. Overall, like we said, about a 10 to 15% increase in performance over the base RTX 2060. RTX 2070 Super, the second meaning of Super means that a card that replaces the older non-Super one, saying that the RTX 2070 Super comes in at the same price as the original 2070, but it has not been given a price reduction and instead looks set to be phased out. So the RTX 2070 the RTX 2060 Super is a replacement for the 2060, and then the RTX 2070 Super is a replacement for the 2070, but it doesn't fully replace, it does replace it, but it doesn't drop the price. It keeps the price, it increases performance. Just looking here, cursory, looks like you'll get an extra, probably another 10 to 15% increase in performance. They say it's about 16% faster than the regular 2070 on average, putting it at the putting it above the GTX 1080 Ti and mighty close to the original 2080. So pretty good. And hey, there are Melter Snowflakes in the chat room. Now, and when they drop $50, they'll get 3 of them. Really, that's the point. If you're hoping for a cheaper graphics card, looks like they're phasing out the cheaper graphics cards. Instead of dropping the price of them, they are introducing new ones and just removing the old ones from stock. So you're still going to have to pay $400. There's no option really to pay less for the cards. They're just better, and you're still going to be paying the same price. So, And saying that they should call them the RTX 20-5 instead of the Supers. NVIDIA is very, very wonky with their naming scheme. They really like the 60, 70, 80, and in some cases they even had like the 1050, where the 50s are like even the more budget options. The 90s come in every once in a while. They're even higher. And then, of course, you have a whole nother class of things like your Titan X's, your Titan XPs. I'm not trying to make any sense out of how they actually name these things. Okay, so the 2060 Super replaces the 2060, comes in at just under where the 2070 was. Let's go ahead and say the 2070 Super is going to replace the original 2070, and it's going to come in at just under the 2080. Now, we are getting to the next one, 2080 Super. What does it mean? What does it do? And here is where we have this nifty little chart. So there's a bit more streaming multiprocessors. There's two additional ones. Looks like there's another 130 CUDA cores, another 100 megahertz when it comes to the base clock speed, and another 100 when it comes to the boosted clock speed. A few more tensor cores, few more RT cores, a few more texture units. Overall, you're looking at not much. The important detail, which is missing, as the article points out, is memory bandwidth. As rumored, the 2080 Super memory data rate rose from 14 gigs per second to 15 gigs per second, 15.5, which is an increase from 448 gigabytes per second to 496. That's about a 10% increase. I would say overall, you're looking at a sub 10% increase between the 2080 to the 2080 Super, but that one is a bit better. The raw numbers are looking at about a 10% increase in performance, and let's go ahead and get to the price. Price. Looks like prices are going to, of course, well, actually, here we go. 2080 Super, you're looking at a $700 price tag, where the GeForce RTX 2080 Ti is $1,000 and it's still the flagship as long as you don't count the Founders Edition. So there you go. I don't know. It's better. I think we're all kind of looking for the first batch of the Navi RX cards, but overall looks like this is just an iterative increase in performance for NVIDIA. Yeah, and the target market for this are really those who are either building a computer for work, for productivity, for gaming. These are the cards that you're going to want, but overall, if you have one of the previous generations, this isn't something you're going to be too excited about. If anything, because this was an announcement that was to be ahead of AMD's big announcement, I am looking more forward to AMD's announcement, because if this is what NVIDIA has, 10% here, 5% there, and really an overall improvement of like 10% with really nothing too exciting, I'm hoping AMD can come out swinging and really show us what their graphics cards are capable of. So there you go. Okay, so Microsoft, NVIDIA, let's go ahead and talk about numbers. Let's go ahead and talk about some numbers. Roku. You may remember them. They are so often not talked about, but they're dominating. Saying that Roku continues to dominate the TV streaming market in the US. This according to John Finkus. It's no secret that Roku has many devotees, but how big is the lead in the streaming world? Quite large, according to Strategy Analytics. And here's the important part. It's not just that they were popular at one point and they have, kind of a residual effect. No, they're actually increasing their lead. Saying that the analyst firm latest sales indicates that Roku is expanding in dominance with the US with over 41 million active media streaming devices. That's crazy. Saying that's a 36% advantage over the second platform, which is Sony's PlayStation line. And when you think about it, that's a dedicated streaming device versus albeit more expensive, but a combination streaming device and game system. It's a Sony PlayStation. Who knew? Now, Sony and other rivals weren't about to threaten Roku's lead anytime soon. The Xbox One, the Switch, Android TV, Chromecast, Amazon Fire, and other smart TV platforms either saw largely flat sales in the US or were growing too modestly to catch up with Roku. The Strategy Analytics, there's no mystery as to why Roku is succeeding. It's largely about TV partnerships. Essentially, and in fact, they have a nice little graph here if you'd like to check that out. But again, essentially, it has to do with the fact that you can buy both modest and high-end TVs with Roku interfaces built in, so there's a good chance you'll have access to Roku's fastest growing competitors in the market. The problem, as you might have gathered, is that Roku doesn't have much of a presence outside the US. And while the research predicts that Roku will continue to grow on its home soil, it faces a considerably tougher challenge outside. And according to this graph here, you can see that everyone is really, kind of stagnant. Really, that's probably the best way to put it. So we're gonna have to stop that there. That's the end of that article. But essentially, we need to see, will streaming devices continue to grow? Will smartphones just completely make that obsolete? And smart TVs, we know that your next TV that you're going to buy is probably going to be a smart TV. Whose hardware or whose software is going to be rolled into it? Looks like Roku wants to be that answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue on doing computer technology news. If you're just joining us, perfect. How about And actually, this article here, it resonates with me because I have to do this too. I have to do this. And it's worth talking about again. So this is an article from Ars Technica. Frontier customer bought his own router, but has to pay a $10 rental fee anyways. That's right. Customer-owned Fios router works just fine, but Frontier refuses to waive the fee. Ladies and gentlemen, if I knew this was newsworthy, I would have written an article about it way long ago. I do this right now, and I will tell you why. My current provider, I won't say who it is, but my current provider, they upgraded our service to a very, very fast 300 megabits per second. It's great. And it's wonderful. We actually get closer to like 360, 370, almost 400 during some times. But the router, I'm sorry, modem. But the modem that they gave us was unfortunately not compatible with the internet speeds that we were getting. We were being throttled all the way back down to like 10 megabits per second, and through a number of customer support chats and engineers coming out of the house, managers coming out of the house, I had to determine that through one engineer kind of giving me the hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, it was the modem, and it was the only modem that they had. Like, it was the only type of modem that they had was not compatible with the speeds, and I would have to go buy my own modem. Fine, whatever. I went and bought a modem. Turns out modems are actually super inexpensive. If you have a service provider and you can talk to them and see if purchasing your own modem will get them to reduce their fees, definitely do it, because we got like a top of the line perfect modem that was like $40 or $50. And again, it was one of the best out there on the market. Things worked swimmingly after that, but we still had to pay the rental fee, because it turns out even if you weren't using the equipment, even if you return the equipment, they still have to recoup the cost of running the line to you. And they just kind of bundled that in with the fee, and they have really no interest in removing the fee. So with that being said, customer-owned Fios router, this is for a router, not a modem, but essentially but Frontier started charging them $5 a month for what's listed as a Wi-Fi router fee on their bill, and the company said that the router fee raised the router fee to $10 a month in April. According to the router rental charge, according to the company, including the router rental charge, the couple pay about $90 a month for about 150 megabits per second with no TV or phone service, which, by the way, is ridiculous. That's crazy. So the complaint, you can complain. So the board that is dedicated to handling these kinds of complaints, you are looking at the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. Turns out, though, the FCC complaint process can help customers in some cases, but doesn't require the provider to do anything other than respond within 30 days. The FCC complaints team told Sun in an email, "We've reviewed the provider's response, and based on the information, we believe your provider has responded to your concerns." Essentially telling them to shut up, go away, everything's okay here. So the gentleman said that it's $10 today, but how much will it cost us tomorrow? I'd consider letting it go I'd consider letting it go if their customer service blew me out of the water, but they've been terrible ever since Verizon forced Frontier on us. So with this being said, it looks like Frontier responded to Ars Technica about the story. saying that our Frontier Resident Gateway router is Frontier equipment provided with every service order and specifically designed to work with our service. Our advertisers in our residential internet terms and conditions make clear that our services include equipment charges, including the router charge, and neither our advertisements nor our terms and conditions provide any exceptions. A customer may choose to use their own router, but the customer does not. But if the customer does, our router charge continues to apply. Also, we cannot support or repair a non-Frontier equipment. Okay, so let me translate that for you. Frontier just said, the fees are the fees. And you say, well, what if I'm not using the equipment associated with the fees? Frontier are saying, tough luck. That doesn't matter. We will continue to charge our fees. We wrote in the contract that that you signed because you are a loyal and probably in a monopoly customer of Frontier that we would charge you $5. Therefore, we will charge you $5. There's no negotiating around that. So though infrequent, when a customer chooses to use a non-Frontier router, we see increased complaints and more difficulty with troubleshooting, performing online resets, and providing simple resolutions. It costs more to serve that customer. Therefore, if a customer uses their own router, the charge still applies to cover these costs. Frontier cannot support or repair non-Frontier equipment. That is such a weak excuse that they can say, hey, these people take longer to talk to, therefore we're still going to charge them money because in the future, one day, it might cost us a little bit more on a phone call. Kind of not buying it. And and of course, Fort in the chat room saying that he'd choose between 56K internet speeds and Frontier, he'd choose 56K. I don't know if I'm with you on that. 56K was rough times. That was opening a bunch of web pages and opening a bunch of videos and music and things like that, and having to go to bed just so it all could come through. Those were dark times. So that was the response once again from Frontier, saying that it's our contract. You signed it. We said we were going to charge you even if you don't use the equipment. Turns out we're still going to charge you because we said we were. Other Frontier users fight same losing battle. Many other people have dealt with this. When it comes to Frontier, I can't speak to that, but when it comes to any other service, I will say we recommend getting your own router, especially if they waive the fee. If they won't waive the fee, you could probably put it off for a little while, but if they do waive the fee, we highly encourage you to go buy your own router. You can get a very good one for $50, $60, and if they're charging you $10 a month for a router fee, you could save your money you could recoup your entire cost by about $10. Important. Okay, so there's that one, and let's go ahead and continue on. We are doing computer and technology news. Let's talk about, no, not that. Not that either. All right, how about a product announcement, and then we'll continue on with some other stuff. How about this? This one from Ars Technica as well. The Galaxy Note 10. It's a big announcement. It's a big phone. It's a big product, and there will be a big announcement. Samsung has officially announced the launch event for its next flagship smartphone, saying that the Galaxy Unpacked 2019 takes place August 7th at 4 p.m. Eastern, when the company will show off the Galaxy Note 10. Samsung sent out invitations to the press today for Galaxy Unpacked, and the invite leaves no doubt as to the star of the show, which you can see here. They have the product press image. I think it's going to be about the Samsung Galaxy 10. They said that they have renders made by OnLeak. Since then, a set of extra blurry photos of the 10 has popped up that matches with the renders, Both the photos and the renders show an aggressively rectangular body. Let's see. So an aggressively rectangular body, which you can see here, with hole punches in the screen and on the back of the phone for your flash, your camera, things like that. It looks like screen real estate is all there. Like there's almost no bezel, and the phones and things, the notch is already last year's accessory. So don't expect any kind of notch. Samsung seems to have also given up the dual front-facing camera that shipped with the Galaxy S10 Plus, opting instead for a single front camera. And speaking of earlier models, the Galaxy Note 10 will come in two sizes. The blurry photos that leaked show as the Note 10 Plus, and or maybe referred to as the Note 10 Pro. The smaller modeling has a 6.3-inch display, while the plus-size version has a 6.75-inch display, and an extra rear time-of-flight camera. Both phones will reportedly be Samsung's first time accessing the headphone jack. Yep, for those of you hoping to keep your 3.5mm headphone jack, you are all out of luck, Jack. They're going away. Unfortunate. So there's that. Let's see. So there's that one. What else do we have? Don't want to scare you too bad. This is good. This is good for Tesla, which therefore I like it because it's, I wish the best for Tesla. I like competition. I like car companies. Yeah, it's just so hard to get one to actually do what you want. And did you see the low-cost tablets from Walmart? No. Now, Tesla delivered 95,200 of its electric vehicles in the second quarter, a dramatic reversal from the disappointing first period that set a new record and beat analysts' expectations, saying that they beat them by about 4,000 vehicles. Not half bad. Now, the record-breaking figures stood in stark contrast to the company's first quarter delivery numbers, where it saw a total delivery of 63,000 Teslas. Not bad, but definitely a lot better. Okay, so you can see the numbers here. If you are watching the video portion, you can check that out. And yeah. Model S and Model X looking at about 17,000 deliveries. Model 3, which is their cheaper, less expensive Tesla, you're looking at about 77,000 cars delivered. It's pretty great. Tesla reported that it made significant progress in streamlining its global logistics and delivery partners in high volumes, which was a major pinch point for the company. And on top of that, the company also signaled that its record would not be a blip. Orders in the second quarter exceeded deliveries, which means Tesla is entering a third quarter with a backlog. Customers' vehicles in transit at the end of the quarter were 7,400, and the company says it doesn't plan to disclose the customers' vehicles in transit metric going forward. Okay. Pretty darn good, though. Tesla. Making cars, and really that's all I expect of you, Tesla, is just make the cars and get them into people's driveways, get them into their hands. Okay, so there's that. Let's go ahead and continue on. So let's see. Let's talk about All right, how about this one? Grubhub. You know the one. Grubhub says its contract allowed it to create fake restaurant websites, a default opt-in, if you will. That's right. Grubhub CEO has responded to reports that its company creates fake websites for its restaurant partners, claiming that, according to its contract agreement, these businesses have signed away permission for Grubhub to engage in marketing tactics on their behalf, saying that Grubhub may create maintain and operate a website, or at least a microsite, and obtain the URL for which the microsite, for such microsite on the restaurant's behalf. Essentially what they're saying is that they are making these little websites just so that they can have some kind of web presence that Grubhub can link to. Let's see, so real quick, they're making an in-house model, 8 and 10 inch, both look worthy alternatives to Kindle Fire, and if you want to avoid Amazon. No offense for in the chat room, but if you want to avoid Amazon, it just kind of sucks that Walmart is your alternative, because they're really not that much better. But it's interesting. I like competition, and I have to check those out. Maybe we'll talk about them another time. Everyone, we're flat out of time. Thank you so much for tuning into Computer America. Have a great day. Thank you, and we'll catch you next time. Everyone, bye-bye.